So I want to circle back in our next segment to what you told me over the summer about who you supported. So you recall in our last focus groups, they took place just 2 days after President Biden announced he was not going to run for reelection. And at that point, it looked that Harris would take over, but it wasn't certain yet. But it was starting to look that way. So I'm going to go through each of you. I'm going to take 3 or 4 minutes with each of you just to talk about where you were and now where you are. Okay? And see what's new and what's different or what stayed the same. So, Crystal, I'm going to start with you. So the last time we spoke, you told me you planned to vote for Harris. You actually did vote for Harris.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm going to read back to you what you told me. You said, I dislike Trump that much. I'm scared for my children. I have an 18-year-old daughter, and she's terrified of what he's going to do. He's too extreme. He wants too many extreme things. And my older son has already said if Trump came in, he would move to Europe. He's leaving the country. And that speaks volumes to me about our young people. And as a parent, I just can't, in good conscience, vote for Trump at all.
Mhm.
So it strikes me that did anything about Trump change between the time you said that to me and the time you voted?
Nope.
Okay. Since you already voted, this is a little bit of a hypothetical, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. Imagine
Sure.
the day before you voted, Trump came to you and said, what do I need to do to change your mind? What would you have told him?
He needs to stop name calling. He needs to start giving some solid information about exactly what he wants to do. When he came out during the debate and said, I have a concept of a plan, that spoke volumes to me. He does not have any idea about what exactly he wants to do unless it makes a good for him, not the country, but for him. And so that right there spoke volumes to me too, and kind of solidified my vote for the vice president.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Tierra, you're next.
Okay.
Last time we spoke, you told me you planned to vote for Harris. And hang on one second. And you voted for Harris.
Yes.
Okay. Um, and at that time, you said to me, she's from my hometown, so I do know history about her from where she started and where she is now. So she's motivating and motivational to us, to my peers, and she's a Black woman. She could be the first lady president. She will follow Biden's policies, Obama, things like that, things I feel the people who vote for them agree on, fight for our rights. They're just everything about her. Um, I'm going for her, and everybody I know is going for her, so I hope that she gets in the race. I trust you still feel that way?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if I ask you the same question I posed to Crystal, if the day before you voted, Trump said, what do I need to do to change your mind? What would you have told him?
Nothing, because I don't like you.
Okay. All right. Chris. So the last time we spoke, you told me you planned to vote for Trump. Has anything changed your mind about him since late July?
Yes. Just
What's
like
changed your mind?
all the uh, all the people that he's around, kind of are was around before that are kind of like now coming back and saying that making it like show that he wasn't or he's gonna fly off the wall now. And I'm more afraid of what's gonna happen if he gets in power again. So no, I don't want him in power.
Okay. So on a scale from 0 to 100, um, where's where 0 is you'll definitely vote for Trump, and 100 is you'll definitely vote for Harris. Where are you on that scale, or are you on that not on that scale at all?
On like a 75, I would say.
Or
75 for Kamala.
okay, so so it's like a 75% chance you'll vote for her.
Yes.
Okay, what's the other 25%?
Uh, Independent.
Okay, so Trump has been ruled out entirely.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
'Cause at this point, I'm afraid of what he would do if he got put back in power.
so back in July, you said to me, I like the GOP principles. So if I don't vote Trump, then none of the things I want to get done will. And if I vote the other way, that nothing's going to go. It's going to be a lot of infighting.
Yeah.
You still feel that way?
Uh, yeah, kind of still a little bit. Because I still feel that, like, if voting for Kamala, if there's still like a Republican hold on Congress, we're still gonna have like a lot of infighting and nothing's really gonna get done. But at the same token, voting for someone other than Kamala isn't gonna get anything done either. So it's kind of like a toss up, really.
Okay. So I'm gonna push you in a couple of different directions if you'll let me do that.
Okay.
All right. First thing. So you tell me you're at 75% for Kamala Harris.
Yes.
She calls you up and she goes, Chris, what do I need to do to get you to 100? What do you tell
Uh, I would say like put someone like Nikki Haley in your cabinet, or like put a couple prominent Republicans in your cabinet so that we actually know that you're gonna be a bipartisan person, and that way I know that like some of the stuff that we want to get done might get done because she's actually showing that she's gonna be bipartisan because she's like actually putting those people in her cabinet.
her? Okay. So you ruled out Trump for the reasons you said. What do you think would push you at this point to choose an independent third party candidate instead of Harris?
Um, Not really sure.
Okay.
I think I'm leaning more towards Harris and independent, so I don't really think that I would do independent. It's just like more of a I'm more towards Kamala.
Okay. And what are the chances Christie just won't vote at all for president?
Uh, that I think that would be more of the 25
Okay.
independent.
Got it. So it's like 3/4 chance you'll vote for her, 1/4 chance you just might not vote.
Right.
Okay. So what would have to happen for you to decide not to vote?
Uh, I'm not really sure. I haven't given it a whole lot of thought on like why I wouldn't vote. It's just like at this point I would have to have strong feelings about like Kamala being in power to not vote for her, I guess.
Okay. And do you think you have those strong feelings or not?
No, no. At this point, I'm still comfortable with her um, being elected at this point.
Okay, got it. Um, thank you.
Oh, no problem.
All right. Jason, so the last time we spoke, you told me you don't plan to vote at all in the general election. And about Nikki Haley, you said, I think she was my second pick to Ron DeSantis, but I think Ron had already dropped out by then. I trusted her more internationally as opposed to Trump. He seemed too much of a squish on international issues. And then she seemed like a good, just steady hand on the wheel, just like a good kind of Republican, somebody I could trust. And then talking about your voting intentions in November, you said, I haven't voted. You said, I haven't voted for either major party in the last two elections. And since I don't like either, I won't vote in this one either. On Harris, you said, I wouldn't trust her to be moderate enough for me. She branded herself as pretty liberal. So, what changed that caused you to go from not voting to voting third party? What changed since July?
I mean, I I don't think that's like a non-change. It's just like not voting for one of the major parties. I don't think, Oliver is going to win. It's just kind of like a protest vote saying, "Hey, please give me different options." So it's not really different. It's just like kind of, I didn't really like Jill Stein. I didn't like who else was on the ballot. I can't remember. It might have been one other person, but I've voted Libertarian before, and so I said that's just where I put my vote. So I feel like that's not changed from what I said before. I felt less confident about Kamala, and I was getting closer to voting for Trump. I think maybe it would have been a harder decision if I had been in because I feel pretty confident that Arizona is going to go for Trump. But maybe if I was in a more of a swing state, I'd have a harder time maybe not voting for one of the two major parties.
Okay, got it. So if Harris came to you and asked, what do I need to do to change your mind? If it had been the day before you voted, what would you have said to her?
I'm gonna need a lot of details from you, and stop evading all the questions coming to you. I need very direct answers to a lot of the things that you've been asking about. Like, how do you feel about Israel, about trans rights, about the economy, and kind of like what Chris was saying, perhaps if you're willing to put Republicans I trust in your cabinet, like if you had Mitt Romney in there, if you had somebody that's pretty conservative, and that you'd be, signing on to those principles, kind of like what Biden said. He was going to be like a normal, just return to normality, but I feel like he was running, or he was running as a moderate, but then his presidency was pretty liberal, so something like that.
Okay. And if Trump had come to you the day before you voted and say, what do I need to do to change your mind and vote for me? What would you have told him?
Yeah, I would have needed to see some olive branches to some of those people that he's disaffected, like Mitt Romney, and a few other people like that. And just being willing to tamp down on some of his more crazy stuff, like economics, for tariffs, and saying he's not going to be putting tariffs on everything, but just giving more reasonable answers to those types of questions, giving me a little bit more trust in what he's going to do with the economy.
Okay, so the tariffs are a real issue for you.
Yeah, the ways he's talking about it is tariffs aren't. I guess he maybe in smaller areas, like JD Vance comes in and cleans up kind of Trump's language. Trump says we're going to put a tariff on everything that's not made in the U.S., but I'd have to see that how it's going to be implemented. Maybe it would be okay. Maybe it would be in specific industries and specific areas. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's protectionism isn't really what I'm looking for. Maybe in certain industries, we don't want all of our manufacturing in China, so we maybe want to try to push people to come back to the U.S. if all of it's in China or other places like that.
Okay, got it. Thank you, John. Last but not least, so the last time we spoke, you told me you did not plan to vote at all in the general election. And about Nikki Haley, you said this: I voted for 2 reasons. Number 1 is to convey to the powers that be that not everybody is for Trump, and that I'm sorry, that not everybody is for Trump that has those types of views or Republican type of views, as well as the fact that I agree with Haley's more moderate policy. So it wasn't like one or the other, it was both. Regarding your voting intentions in November, you said back in July, not a fan of either candidate. I've decided not to vote on Harris based upon what she did when she was in California, like Attorney General and Senator there, her political beliefs and how she went after some of the big businesses there. I think I'd be a no. Has anything changed your mind about not voting?
No, and I think when the question was posed back in July, it was I wouldn't vote for either candidate. I would still vote in the election.
Oh, okay. Thanks for clarifying. All right.
Right.
So where are you now?
I'm in the same spot. I will more than likely vote Libertarian Chase Oliver because Trump is a known quantity and Harris hasn't been able to explain how or why things would be different than they have been the past 4 years.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you the same questions I posed some of the others.
Sure.
Harris came to you and asked, what do I need to do to change your mind? Not vote third party and vote for me instead. What would you tell her?
Similar to what Jason had said, in that the devil's in the details. And I don't think she's been able to tell people how she would make things better, why things would be different. And in fact, I think recently she was on The View and was asked that question and came up with a non-answer, that things she couldn't think of anything that would necessarily be different. So I think she would need to get into detail as to what she would do, how she would do it, and why she would do it.
So just out of curiosity, and this is not meant, it's not a judgment at all. I'm just merely asking the question. So please interpret it that way.
Sure.
Do you know whether or not she has a policy plan?
I have not seen anything that I've read that is a policy plan per se. Now, I haven't gone to our website to see if there's one published there. I would imagine that there's some sort of framework there. But in all the news articles that I have read across the political spectrum, I have not seen a defined policy plan.
Okay. So if I told you there's an 82-page PDF that you can download of her economic plan, would that surprise you or not?
No.
Okay.
What would surprise me is if it differentiated her policy plan versus what's been in effect for the past 4 years.
Okay. Got it. Would you, if someone said, hey, I'm going to set, if Harris said, here's my plan, I'm going to send it over to you, would you open it up and look at it?
If there was value, yeah. If it was 82 pages of legalese, no, I'm not going to read that. If it's something that's easily digestible, that calls out specific actions, things that are important to me, yeah, I would definitely take a look at it.
Okay. Same question from the Trump side. If he said to you, what do I need to do to change your mind about voting for a third party? Why don't you just come out and vote for me? What would he need to do? What would you tell him?
I'd say I won't vote for you. You can't unring that bell. The things that have occurred. You can't go back and change history, and you're not going to change. I mean, that much is crystal clear. You are who you are.
Yeah, so what I'm sensing is with Trump, complete non-starter. There's no way you'd vote for him under any circumstance.
Yes.
And with Harris, it's a tiny, minuscule crack that you might give her a little opportunity, but basically, I'm sensing from you, John, please correct me if I'm wrong, that you're not particularly animated to learn enough to even really want to give her an opportunity as a choice. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say if she can't give an elevator speech as to how things are going to be better, and whether it be snippets that she's had the opportunity when she's been on different programs, interviewed by various journalists. At this point, if it's October 28th and the election's next week and she hasn't gotten that down, she's not going to get it.
Okay, got it. Just one last question. Is there anything you know or like about Chase Oliver?
I like the libertarian platform, and I think I mentioned this the last time we spoke, is I voted libertarian in 2016 and 2020. I believe in strong personal freedoms, and that aligns with the libertarian platform.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for letting me push.
You bet.
All right. So next, I want to circle back to what you told me over the summer about who you supported. So you'll recall our last focus group took place just 2 days after President Biden dropped out of the race, and Vice President Harris at that moment looked like she was going to take over as the nominee, but it was not at all confirmed yet. So I want to go in order and talk about your choices. So Barbara, the last time we spoke, you told me you planned to vote for Trump. And
Yes.
you voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Has anything in your mind changed about him since July? Any different feeling about him and how you view him? Anything changed since the last 3 months?
If possible, I like him less than I did before, but I'm Republican, so I'm just voting for him because of that.
Okay. How long ago did you vote?
I just did the absentee ballot, so about 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay.
Mhm.
You're not at the point where you regret voting for him and you want to take the vote back, are you? No.
No.
So, so you said back in July, I'm going to quote back to you what you told me. You said, unfortunately, whoever the Republican candidate is who I'm going to vote for.
Mhm.
So I want to just play a little hypothetical with you for a second. By the way, I'm going to do I'm going to go through each of you one at a time. So, we're going to do this in sequence. So imagine the day before you sent in that absentee ballot, Kamala Harris called you on the phone and she said, Barbara, I know you told Rich back in July that you intended to vote for Trump, but I want you to change your mind and vote for me. What would you have told her if the day before you voted, and she made that request of you? What would you have said to her?
I would still say that I'm a true Republican and I'm going to vote Republican.
Okay. So this is completely about party, being faithful to the party. Is that how you look at it? Or is it, give me a sense of how you think through the process. If you're not all that crazy about Trump, like why did you bother voting for him? I guess that's my question.
Okay. Well, I think that the moral, the views and morals of a Republican is closer to my beliefs. So whoever the Republican candidate is, that's how I'm voting.
Okay. And so you voted for Nikki Haley in the primary.
Mhm.
So do you view Trump as being in the same style of Republican as Haley?
No.
Okay. But I guess, so in your mind, is Trump closer to Haley than Harris is? Is that how you look at it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I really like the idea that Nikki Haley was a woman, and I thought she would have more closer values to mine
Mhm.
than Trump, but he is our Republican.
Nominee.
He's our candidate, so that's who I picked.
Okay. Got it. So I guess what I'm wondering is there any way in your mind that you would have let go of Trump? Now, is there anything that he could have done that would have been so beyond the pale where you just could not have voted for him? Or is it just, he's a Republican, and just because he's a Republican, I'm going to vote for him?
Unfortunately, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
There's nothing, yeah. I would have preferred a different Republican candidate. That's
Okay.
clear.
Yeah. I guess I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm trying to understand your
Mhm.
thinking about this. Okay. So let me just ask you one hypothetical and I'll move on. So imagine Trump said made as part of his platform. He has not done this. I just want to be very clear. He has not done this. But let's say he said explicitly, "What if I get elected on day one? I'm going to start prosecuting my political enemies and trying to put them in jail." And that had been part of his platform. In other words, Nancy Pelosi, I'm going to put her in jail. Barack Obama, I'm going to put him in jail. And that's his platform. He'd name people and say he'd jail them. Would that have been a bridge too far for you?
Yes. But I would probably not vote versus, but not vote for a Republican. You know what I mean? I wouldn't switch my vote to the Democratic candidate. I would just not vote.
Just not vote. Okay. Would you have voted for a third party candidate perhaps or not?
Well, maybe.
Okay. Thank you. You're very kind to let me push you. You're very,
That's
very
okay.
nice. Okay. Thank you. All right. Dale, you're next.
Okay.
Last time we spoke, you said you intended to vote for Trump. Has anything changed your mind about him since late July?
No, he's I mean, he's still kind of crazy, but maybe a good kind of crazy. And I think the Russians they're afraid of him.
You think the Russians are afraid of him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's pretty important to me, is that our enemies are afraid of us. He's clever like a fox, but he's also chaotic.
Okay. So there are a number of people who say that he's not. The Russians are afraid of him. That basically the Russians are trying to control him. That basically that he's scared of them as opposed to they're being scared of him.
Well, I don't know about that. I think they're all trying to make sure Harris gets in. The Chinese, the Iranians, the Russians would much rather have Harris as a leader. They think that, I think all the plans will be put on hold if Trump gets in there.
Okay. All right. So same question I posed to Barbara. So you haven't voted yet, right?
Right.
Okay. So if she came to you between now and election day and she said, "What do I need to do to change your mind?" What would you tell her? "I want you to vote for me." She said that. What would you tell her?
I'd tell her she has to go pro-life on TV.
Okay. So she's got to completely change her position on that.
Exactly.
Okay. Got it. Okay. We'll move on to Zach. So Zach, the last time we spoke, you told me you plan to vote for Trump. Has anything changed in your mind about him since late July?
No, I think right now I'm still leaning towards Trump. I don't think I'm hard locked for voting for him. Like I think that if I go in next Tuesday and go cast my ballot and something's just stopping me from voting for him, then maybe I'll vote for her. But right now I think I'm still leaning towards Trump.
All right, so let's talk about this. So on a scale from 0 to 100, where 0 is you'll definitely vote for Trump and 100 is you'll definitely vote for Harris, where are you on that scale?
I would say 100 is voting for Harris, you said?
100 is definitely Harris, 0 is definitely Trump.
Probably closer to like 35 or 40.
Okay. So your reason for voting back in July for Trump that you told me was mostly related to the economy.
Yep.
That's still the case?
Yes.
All right. So why is he at 35 or 40 in your mind as opposed to the 0 that would be definitely Trump? What's the hesitation?
I mean, the morals. I mean, just voting for a guy that's done the things he's done and tried to do the things he's tried to do doesn't feel great by any means.
So explain to me why that concern doesn't supersede the things that you like about him?
At the end of the day, the president, despite him trying to want, and he says things that can't necessarily come true. The president's not an authoritarian. Obviously they're a political spearhead and they can, talk on behalf of the country, but at the end of the day, it's all the senators and the legislatures that are really putting into effect policies. He had, obviously, when he was in office the last time with the Supreme Court, he made an extreme difference there. But as terms of policy, the best he can do is, write a presidential order, and it's not necessarily into effect, and the funding is questionable at best. And without actual legislation, the president can't really do a whole lot.
Okay. So are you, so help me understand this. If it sound, I'm reading between the lines. So tell me if I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, please tell me I'm wrong. It sounds as though you want Trump, but you want his hands tied.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the ideal. Yes. I mean, and I know that's kind of what was in the last election. And I know a lot of Democratic talking points are, well, he's only going to select yes men in his cabinet the next time around. And obviously with all the Mark Kelly stuff and all the comments with that, it's concerning. But at the same time, there's enough political safe checks in place, I believe, that the country would be all right.
Okay. So Kamala Harris hears our conversation. She's not going to, but let's assume she did. Okay. She heard you say what you just said. And she's saying to herself, this is a guy who clearly does not want to vote for Trump. And she comes to you and says, why don't you just vote for me? I'm not going to be a threat to the Constitution. I'm not going to start another insurrection. I'm going to be responsible. I'll be governing from left of center. I'm a Democrat, but I'm not going to do the things that you're worried Trump is going to do. Why is that not a compelling argument to you? Or is it a compelling argument?
I mean, if there's anything that's persuading me towards voting for her, it would be that. I typically, I call myself independent, but I definitely lean more right than other. So, I typically align with more right-leaning philosophies on things. And the policies that Kamala has put forth, I don't really agree with most of what she's doing policy-wise or would like to do policy-wise. With Trump's hands tied, I guess that would be more in line with what I would like to see.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So is there just one last question from her. So if she said, what do I need to do to change your mind? What would you tell her?
So even if she were to change her positions on things, I wouldn't even like that because of just the pandering aspect of things. Like I feel like she's already changed up her mind on a lot of issues already. And that's already one of the concerns I have over her. It feels like she wasn't getting votes in this particular place. So she flip-flopped a position on it or changed a position on it. And it just wouldn't do it for me. Okay. So, I mean, to me, it's just morality at this point.
All right. And there's nothing she could say to you about morality that would change your minds. Basically, you just have to feel comfortable with your vote. Is that what I'm hearing? Pretty
much. I mean, I think I've heard a good majority and more of the talking points from both sides. And, just the morality aspect, especially from the Democratic side, when the Obamas were out and talking to everyone and their last pleas of getting people to vote. I think it was late last week. I've heard it. I'm just not quite there yet.
Okay. Got it. Of all the people who are making that plea to focus on Trump's morality, is there any one person who you think has done the best job of making that case to you? I
don't think the ones that I've seen have really been more effective than just her and her talking points. Like, I don't see Obama or like Barack or Michelle, either of them, and being like, oh, I need to change my vote for one of those two, or, especially in the political world. And then outside the political world, there's no one I was like, I don't really trust you guys on politics. Like, Taylor Swift comes out for it. I love Taylor Swift, but like, I don't really care what she has to say politically. So it doesn't really mean a whole lot to me.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Melody. Last time you spoke, you told me you planned to vote for Harris. You voted for Harris.
Yes.
Okay. So, so you chose her. Why?
She's a lot better candidate than the Republican one. I am a Republican, conservative Republican, but then again, look who we have to vote for a Republican. You can't go there. So I had to switch and vote for her.
And why
No
can't
questions asked.
and why can't you vote? Why can't you vote for him?
For Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. No,
Well,
no. He should be in jail with all the other people that he, have been to jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a Republican. Zach's a Republican. What would you say to Zach to change his mind?
Just look at who you're voting for. I mean, really? I mean, if he wins, I think we all ought to move to Mexico. And I'm not joking.
Okay.
It's
We
scary.
could just walk across the border then
Yeah.
into the country.
Yeah.
if Harris wins.
He wants to be more than just president.
What does he want?
He wants to be a dictator. We don't need that here.
So if Trump had come to you the day before you voted and he said, Melody, I hear that you're not excited about voting for me. What do I need to do to change your mind? What would you have told him?
No. Heck no.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Jennifer. Last time you spoke, if I'm interpreting this correctly, you told me that you didn't plan to vote in the general election.
I'm going to vote in the general election for sure. For president, I was either going to write in a name or vote for Trump, and I think. And those are still my choices.
Okay, well, so let me read back to you what you told me.
Okay.
I don't agree with Kamala Harris's platform, and if it were tomorrow, I'm just not in a position to vote for Trump. And so if I couldn't write in anyone, it would be difficult for me.
Oh, because I think you said we couldn't write anyone in either.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if Trump can somehow rein in and become more moderate and temper himself, I might be able to get there by November, but I don't know. All right. So November is Friday. Election day is a week from tomorrow. So where are you now?
I'm still torn, to be honest.
Okay. Describe how you're torn.
I don't think he represents the presidency well. However, was the world a more stable place when he was in power versus Harris? And I think the answer is yes. Was my own family economically better off when he was in office versus now? Yes. I don't necessarily agree that, his policies are going to cause like $1 billion trillion of an additional debt, and Harris's won't cost anything. I don't know the talking points there. So that's why I might vote for him. Maybe it might be 50-50 at this point, versus writing in a name for somebody who I think would do all of those things and morally, character-wise, internal stability-wise, like not inciting riots or questioning elections or questioning due process or all of those things.
So help me understand this. Kamala Harris comes to you and says, hold on a second. You have all these qualms about Trump. Rather than voting for a third party, why don't you just come and vote for me? What would you tell her?
I would tell her that her policies don't align with my own, that, you know, I have grave concerns about her economic viewpoints, about the stability of the world under her and Biden's office tenure so far, about the state of the economy under those two so far, and you know, just say, oh, I'm going to control prices. I keep on hearing that. So does that mean you're going to, I heard she wants to punish retailers that charge too much for something, but in a free economy, another store would just open up and have lower prices if that's where you can't control prices. You should not. I don't think that's the economic society I would want to live in. Then we get to standing in line for you know, basic goods like my friend did in Eastern Europe when she was younger, when it was under communist rule. So yeah, her policies don't align with my own viewpoints.
Okay. So flip side, Trump comes to you and says, you're so close to voting for me. What do I need to do to convince you to come and vote for me and not write in somebody?
Say, stop the madness, stop the insane rhetoric, say that you will support election results, that you know they'll be fair because there are processes in place for that. You're not going to support your own vice presidential candidate life being in jeopardy and kind of getting excited about that, it seemed, during when he was processing votes. You're going to tell me what you say is an act for stupid Americans, and you realize, and you really don't believe that, and you really are better than that. You're just playing a part to get the stupid American vote.
Okay. You think he'd ever say that to you?
No, yeah, probably not. But I'm still torn because I want a stable world for me and my children. So
okay, got it. Thanks for letting me push you back on a little bit on that.
all right.
Okay, Teresa, you're last but not least. Last time you spoke, if I understood it correct, you were not planning to vote, or at least voting for either one of them.
That's correct.
So you said if I can't write in, I wouldn't vote. I just don't care for either one of the candidates. I don't think either one of them would do the job we need done in the country right now. So that was in late July. Now that we're in late October, did you decide to vote for Trump, Harris, or not vote, or some other choice, third party?
I'm going to vote for Vance.
Meaning what?
Meaning that it will be a Trump vote because I like the VP better.
Okay. So in your mind, so how do you get to voting for Vance? Explain to me that course that you're taking through your mind.
Well, because there's still a chance Trump's going to go to jail. I mean, that's not off the table with all the lawsuits and stuff against him. And so then we have to look at who's going to be the leader if that happens.
Okay, just explain to me, how do you see Trump going to jail if he and Vance win the election?
Well, because how many lawsuits are still going against him that they haven't finished the process yet, and they're waiting until after the election.
Okay, but hold on a second. The federal ones he'll dismiss immediately, and the ones in Georgia, you know, if they convict him, he'll say, I'm the president. I get to decide this stuff. You can't, Georgia is not going to throw me in jail in Georgia. I'm the president of the United States. How do you,
So it's still, I like that VP better. So if something were to happen with Trump,
Okay.
I like the VP better. Because I don't care for either one of the candidates. Neither one of them have, neither one of their policies align with what I want. I don't like Trump's temperament. I think that if he could control the rhetoric, it would be better. With all of the Verify stuff that has been going on around here with our news stations, Harris has put a lot of stuff out there that is not correct about Trump, and the same way with Trump about her. And, you know, she says that on day one, she's going to lower prices. She said that she's going to control the, I can't even think of the word right now, but that when someone, like when we had our flood here in North Carolina and the people that are gouging, the price gouging, and yet people in the mountains who have no homes, they lost their homes and they're being charged $400 a night for hotels and nothing is being done. But then she went back and said that it would only be during a crisis. Well, this is a crisis now and nothing's being done. And why can't she go to Biden and say, hey, we got to control this? I mean, she is the vice president.
Okay. So back in July, it sounded like you were excited to vote for a woman when we talked about Haley, for example.
Absolutely.
Why does that not carry over to Harris?
I just don't think she's a strong leader. And I didn't vote for Hillary Trump, but I would vote for Hillary over Harris.
Okay. Got it. So if Harris came to you and said, what do I need to do to convince you to come out and vote for me? What would you tell her?
I need to know more about how she intends to pay for everything she says she's going to do, why she hasn't done the things that, like when she was the border czar and she needed to control that and she hasn't, and how she's going to build these 4 million homes, how it's going to be paid for without raising taxes. Who does she categorize as middle class that she's going to give them tax relief? Is she going to tax Social Security more, or is she actually going to reduce the tax on that? Because that's going both ways here. There's just a lot of questions.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. All right. So you're all done. I'm done grilling you individually now. Effort. Thank you for all listening to each other's.